Tuesday NHL betting preview edition of Pucks Across Borders on Total Apex Sports, brought to you by the one, the only first round collectibles. Right now, with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire first round collectible store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off whatever card you want. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but sales items as well. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code SportsAddict for 10% off your order. That's the number one. STRoundcollectibles.com. Firstroundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast.
And welcome to this Tuesday betting preview edition of Pucks Across Borders on Total Apex Sports. Good to be here. No show earlier today, but we're back tonight, and it's too bad there was no show today, Andre, because I gotta say, I nailed most of these picks tonight, and I have the proof if people really need it. I'm not going to give it unless, people come at me. If our guy, Brady, I know he loves these late night shows. If he comes at me demanding proof, maybe I'll show it. Real quick correction. In that ad read, I said 50% off of any card you want. That's not true. Up to 50% off dozens and dozens of cards in the store. So firstroundcollectibles.com, promo code SportsAddict, 10% off your order. Good to be here. Good to be back. Crazy weekend. Pretty wild night tonight as well. Lots to get it to. Plus, 7 games, I believe, tomorrow night. And we'll get to it all. But first, as always, Andre, how we feeling on a Monday, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Had a pretty good day, but I must extend a congratulations to your Toronto Argonauts. Champions.
Yeah.
Beat Winnipeg. I noticed.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Congrats, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. Terrific game, terrific weekend. It was very Nick Foles-esque, I must say. Star quarterback gets hurt, backup quarterback comes in, gets the job done, was considering retirement, stayed with the club. Don't think we'll be seeing a statue of him outside BMO Place anytime soon, but yeah, it was a terrific game. Really, really close until the fourth quarter. And if anybody read my article, the preview for it on totalapexsports.com, and you followed my betting advice, then congratulations. You were the proud winner of a plus 320 Toronto Argonauts team. Yeah, feels good. 8 straight. They haven't been to 8 straight Grey Cups, but the last 8 times that they've been to the Grey Cup, they've won it since the late 80s. That's a pretty good feeling if you're a fan of any team and they make it to the finals and they just win it every time they get there.
Must be nice.
Yeah, man. And I mean, for you CFL fans out there, I'm sure there's not too many, but if there are, lots of compelling storylines, man. Like the Blue Bombers, this was their 5th straight Grey Cup. They've won the first 2. Now they've lost 3 in a row. And the Argos have won 2 of the last 3. So it feels like maybe a changing of the guard in the CFL. It'll be really, really interesting. The Argos lost like almost half their roster in the offseason last year. And they look to be a bit more stable moving forward. So we'll see, man. Thanks for thinking of me. Excellent halftime performance by the Jonas Brothers. Who would expect anything less? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Absolutely terrific. And you know what? It's funny that you bring that up because I was listening to a post-game podcast on the Grey Cup this morning, and these two guys who host the podcast, they were there. Two and Out podcast. If anyone's interested, the Two and Out podcast. Those guys do great job covering the CFL all season long. So if you're looking for some CFL content, those guys do some great work. And they were at the CFL and they promptly noticed, and they're like Saskatchewan Roughrider fans, like they have no skin in the game, but they noticed that like 70% of the crowd was either Blue Bomber fans or rooting against Toronto. And there was like these dudes in BC jerseys, and they were booing Toronto. And he asked them, like, why, like, you're from BC, shouldn't you hate your rivals, like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? And they're like, no, like, Toronto's the worst city. Like, we hate Toronto. We would much rather see Winnipeg win. So that's how much Canadians as a whole, especially the West Coast, that's how much the West Coast hates Toronto. Like, their rivals are in the Grey Cup, and they'd rather see Toronto lose. That's like I don't know, if the Cowboys were playing the, I don't know, whoever, pick a team. You hate that one city so much. If the St. Louis Rams were still, because you hate St. Louis, everyone knows it. If the St. Louis Rams were still in the NFL and it was like the NFC championship, and the Dallas Cowboys were playing St. Louis, and you were cheering for Dallas simply because of your distaste for the St. Louis Blues. You know, that's like what it was. I found it very interesting. If you need any more proof about how much everyone hates Toronto, it's right there. And it feels good for some reason. Like, I like it. I don't know why. I enjoy it.
Yeah. It's like every day being a Yankees fan. So
right, yeah. It's like,
it's fun.
and it being from Toronto and all my favorite teams that have a Toronto like that, like all of the teams in the city are all my favorite teams of whatever sports they're a part of, right? Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever. And but I feel like that like narcissist in your life that like doesn't understand why everyone hates them. You know what I mean? It's like, what? It's a great city. I'm a great guy. There's great food. It's great. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I feel like. It's like everyone knows you're a narcissist except for you, and you don't know why people don't like you. That's how I feel. What's so bad about Toronto? This is just the greatest city in the world. It's no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably why.
Yeah.
I'm picking Vancouver over Toronto every day. No, I'm joking. Never been to Vancouver.
Vancouver's a great city, man. I got no hate for Vancouver. Then that's the other thing, right? Is like I got nothing but love for Vancouver. Wonderful city. And they're just all over there. I was gonna say they're all like secretly hating us, but it's not very secret at all.
Secret's out now.
No, it's very well known. But all right, here we go. Crazy weekend in the NHL. We'll quickly go through what happened over the last couple of days, and then we will get into our takeaways from all of it. Yesterday, the Hurricanes beat the Blues 4-1. Capitals beat the Golden Knights 5-2. Rangers beat the Kraken 2-0, and the Predators beat the Canucks 5-3. All three games, all puck lines covered. Interesting enough. And then today, currently the Capitals are beating Utah 6-2. Ovi with 2 goals, and with 14 minutes left in the third period, got a knee-on-knee with Jack McBain out. So hopefully, he already has 15 goals, man. I think he needs like 20-something to break the record. That would suck if this impacts him for longer than just a few games. Detroit currently tied with San Jose 2-2. The Blue Jackets just destroy the Bruins 5-1. The Bruins get booed off their own home ice. The Avalanche beat the Flyers 3-2 in Philly. Oilers lose 3-0 to the Canadiens in Montreal, while the Ducks beat the Stars 4-2. Another crazy night for Lucas Distal, and the Ducks win 4-2. So tonight, Sunday, Saturday, whatever you want, man. What's your takeaway from the NHL over the last 3 days?
Yeah, my takeaway, headed to the Windy City because I think people are absolutely losing their minds. I don't know if it's because the Bears are imploding and everything else is crumbling. I don't know if there's just something in the water. Maybe Lake Michigan got poisoned? I don't know what's going on up there, but went onto the internet today. I see calls for the head coach's head, Coach Richardson. I see that Connor Bedard is terrible on faceoffs. I mean, that's a known stat, but he went 0 for 8 the other night. I believe they practiced him on the wing. It seems like they're pulling him from center for this game. And, it's not like we expect them to be a great team. It's not like we expect them to be a good team. We expect them to be competitive, decent, whatever synonym you want to use. And as of this conversation, they are last in the NHL. Not last in their division, not last in the Western Conference. They're last in the NHL. They're 6-11-1. I don't know. It's just not looking good. They haven't really been competitive. I know they beat the Minnesota Wild 2-1, but they had really just haven't been competitive lately, and they haven't been scoring mainly. They have 6 goals in this 5-game stretch where they're 1-4. And we've seen already this season multiple times they just have insane, insurmountable dry spells. On top of the fact that Seth Jones is now injured too, and they're going to be missing time for a while. So Chicago's on fire. Not literally. That's happened before, not this time, but they're not doing too hot.
And I mean, when it comes to the national chatter about Chicago, they're just thanking God for the Nashville Predators. Like, if it wasn't for Nashville, I think Chicago would be top, and the tire fire that Nashville's been. Although they did get a win last night, huge win in Vancouver. Stamkos came alive last night, which is good to see. But if it wasn't for that debacle in Tennessee, I feel like Chicago would be getting a lot more press. And again, man, like Chicago, San Jose, Montreal, these are teams that we did not expect to make the playoffs or, for that matter, make a run to the Stanley Cup Finals. But the rebuild's been happening long enough that you just want to see some progress. You just want to see some stability. That's where, and they're a lot further on in the rebuild, but that's where the frustration with like Detroit is right now, where they've been rebuilding for so long and it just feels like they're not really getting anywhere. And I don't think that Chicago's quite at that kind of level yet. But you just want to see consistency and, growth. And listen, I'm not a head coach. I'm not an assistant coach. I'm not in any level of coaching staff anywhere in the world. But I feel like Connor Bedard being moved to the wing, like, these are the times. I'm sure we'll see him back in center at some point this year, but this is when you got to get him to learn and to grow. And I feel like if you're a team with Stanley Cup aspirations, then maybe you move your prize number 1 overall draft pick to the wing. But if you're Chicago and you're not going anywhere, like, why move him? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm sure somebody who follows the team or knows the team better can kind of clue me in on why this makes sense. But to me, like, it's Connor Bedard, man. You got to get him his reps.
Yeah, you pretty much just hit the nail on the head. Like, it's not. I'll use Alexei Lafreniere as an example. The Rangers moved him around a bunch, line to line, wing to wing, trying to unlock something, especially when they reached that conference finals a few years ago against the Lightning, and then we're trying to have sustained success. Bedard's not in that situation. Bedard's the future, the franchise, the centerpiece of this Chicago team, and I don't know, tinkering with him. He's going to have a rough game. He's going to have ups. He's going to have downs. He's got to figure it out, especially in the face-off circle. That's a team that's already thin at the center position. That's a team that just lost an important player, an important piece of the puzzle that they're trying to build. And to move your 1A over at a time like this, at a time when you're not scoring, I don't think that's the guy you want to take it with when you're trying to get a spark. Because even if he's not winning the faceoffs, he's still leading the team in points. He's the guy driving the offense. So, I don't know. Weird decision. Kind of weird situation and vibes going on over there right now, just as a whole. But everything will sort itself out one way or the other, I would think.
So I was just looking at this just with my own curiosity. Chicago minus 13 goal differential, which isn't great, but it's actually not even the worst. Like San Jose's minus 22. Your boys in St. Louis are minus 18. Nashville minus 15. And it just got me, like the Oilers are minus 10. And it just got me on a kind of like wormhole here as you were talking. Do you know out of 32 teams in the NHL, only 13 have a plus goal differential?
Oh, yeah. I'm well aware.
It's crazy, man. And I'll be honest with you, like, I'm aware of certain situations. Like, I know the Washington Capitals last year were famous for the fact they had like a minus 39 goal differential or whatever it was and still made it to the playoffs. But I'll be honest, like, I don't know year to year, like what percentage of the league has a plus. Like, I don't really pay attention to it at that, like wide range of like the whole league. But that's pretty crazy, man. Florida, Toronto, Tampa, Ottawa, Boston's a minus 21. We'll talk about them in a minute. But Florida, Toronto, Tampa, Ottawa, Carolina, New Jersey, Washington's a plus 24 now, eh? I'm not like how the turns have tabled. The Rangers.
Sharp course correction.
Yeah. Rangers, Winnipeg, Minnesota, Dallas, Vegas, Los Angeles. That's it. 13 teams in a 32 league have a positive plus minus goal differential. That's crazy to me.
It's a crazy league. Well, I feel like when we talk about so many of these teams, though, we're like, why aren't they doing better? Why is this team underperforming? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, you look at teams that are good, but not in a good position right now. Or I guess not in the position we expect them to be. You talk about like, the Canucks, the Flames have been struggling. The Avs, the Oilers got off to awful starts. The Kraken are surprisingly even, but they're 500. Obviously, the Bruins have been garbage. Teams like Utah fell off a cliff after that first week. The Penguins can't stop a nosebleed. Like, we talk about these teams, so many of these teams we talk about often, and it's usually not positive. The Jets, we talk about them because of the streak, but we don't talk about the Hurricanes. They're just quietly dominating. The Devils are just playing good hockey. There's a lot of underachieving happening, I would say, so far this year.
Yes, big time. Well, in that same vein, we'll pivot to my takeaway from the last few days, and really it goes back further than that. And I know that we've talked about this quite a bit, and both of our takeaways are going to be negative today. But you know what? That's what it is sometimes, man. And I could talk positive all night long. I could talk positive all night long about my Toronto Maple Leafs 5-1 without Austin Matthews. He's not going to be with the team at all this week. Ryan Reeves suspended. We could go on. I could talk about the Leafs and the vibes, the good vibes that are in this city, the city of champions, may I add, as you astutely pointed out earlier in the show. Also, before we move on over to the chat, what up, Gabe? Good to see you, man. Thank you for hanging out. So the Boston Bruins, man, like this is getting from bad to worse to worser. Like it's been getting bad for a while. All right, you beat St. Louis 3-2. You're losing 2-1. You come back, tie it up. You beat them 3-2 in regulation. This was last Tuesday. Then you follow that up with getting stomped 7-2 by the Dallas Stars. Now, Dallas Stars are a good team, no doubt, but you still lose 7-2 against the Dallas Stars. Then on Saturday, I was fortunate enough to watch that entire game against St. Louis, played them again on Saturday. I was fortunate enough to watch that whole game. Neither of those two teams wanted to win that game. Like, it was not a good hockey game. But Boston's up 2-1 in the third period, and St. Louis turns the tables on them, ties it up 2-2, wins in overtime. And then tonight, if you're a Boston Bruins fan or a Columbus Blue Jackets fan or just a hockey fan for that matter, you're out, you're doing your grocery shopping, the game starts, you're late to the TV, you gotta, get, dinner for the kids and get home, get everything settled, turn on the game. Your boys are already losing 3-0 within like 15 minutes. And nothing changed. They ended up losing the game 5-1, getting booed by the fans in Boston multiple times throughout the night, including the end of the game. I am not trying to toot my own horn here, all right? Maybe it's the narcissistic Torontonian that's, right here inside of me. But what did I say about Jeremy Swayman, man? Like, I know it's not early, quote unquote, anymore. I feel like we can say it's early for like another week. When's Thanksgiving for you guys? Next weekend?
It is next Thursday. I would say that it's no longer early.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either. But out of just generosity, I'll say Thanksgiving is like the cutoff. Like, once it's Thanksgiving, no longer can you use the excuse it's early or whatever. Jeremy Swayman has not been good, man, at all. And it's not his fault. There's a lot more to this than Jeremy Swayman. The defense, the structure has not been good. They're not scoring. We just pointed out a -21 goal differential. They're not scoring at all. But listen, man, like, Jeremy Swayman, you pay him all this money. I do not. I mean, listen, like I just said, you can't blame everything on him. However, you just paid him a massive contract, massive deal. This is the first time that he doesn't have, Batman behind him. Or if he's Batman and Allmark was Robin, whatever you want to say. I would say it was probably the other way around. I think Allmark was probably Batman. But whatever you want to say, this is the first year that they're not together. Now, Korpisalo has actually played pretty well, and he's played a lot. Like, this isn't like Jeremy Swayman is just, like, running away with the net, and he's playing 80% of the games. Korpisalo is actually playing quite a bit. But you need a save. Like when your defense is what it is, and when you're not scoring, this is what you're paying 8 sheets for. Is for this guy to make a save. And again, I know that Columbus has been scoring a lot, not really recently, but throughout the year, Columbus has been scoring a lot. Hey, they beat my team 6-2. Um, like they're good, they can score goals, but you gotta get a save. I just want to make sure, yeah, like that game against Dallas, Swayman was in net, 31 saves, 38 shots, right? 7 goals. I believe, if you know this off the top of your head, you can let me know. I believe Saturday Korpisalo was in net, if I'm not mistaken. And I will double check that while we're here. Yeah, Korpisalo was in net, 28 saves. Yeah, 28 saves, 31 shots. And tonight, our guy Jeremy Swayman was in net, right? 5 goals. What was the final stat line here? 24 saves, 29 shots. So once again, I'm not blaming only him. As a team, they're not scoring. Their defense has been awful. But Jeremy Swayman, man, this is a really, really tough start. And this is what happens. Maybe it would have happened regardless. I don't know. But this is what happens when goalies miss training camp, man. We see this all the time. This is what happens.
I thought you were going to say this is what happens when goalies hold out to get paid.
Well, same thing. Same thing. Like he missed training camp because he needed 8.25. If last week we talked about how Igor is looking like a jerk for wanting more than Hellebuck. Well, if you take Hellebuck out of this situation, Igor's like, yo, this guy's getting paid 8.25. You see what's happening over here? I better get my 12 million, please and thank you.
Yeah, too bad Jonathan Quick's outplaying him, so that's not going to happen. We should we're going to get to them though. So you should
dude,
stick
shout
to the
out
Bruins.
Jonathan Quick, man. He's
he has to, if he wins a couple with the Rangers, he get until he wins a couple with the Rangers, he's not getting a shout out. I'm still bitter.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
I'm still bitter. But Boston booing, it's a pretty good feeling from the outside looking, and I understand why they're booing. I agree with them to a certain extent. You only had the greatest regular season ever and proceeded to absolutely throw it away and then suck again the next year. But that suck. Just mediocrity the next year, and then it's just a continual regression. I get it. You're upset. You're angry. They're not playing to their standard. Blah, blah, blah. You've had 15 years of just pretty much great hockey.
Great everything. Like, name the sport, man. Like, this is the thing about Boston fans, bro. Like,
the Red Sox are usually pretty bad. I know they just randomly have a great season and win the World Series. Well, otherwise, they've been pretty bad lately.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is awesome. They deserve it.
Yeah. I'm just saying, man, Boston, like, between the Patriots and the Bruins, the Red Sox, they may have been bad for a while, but they've won, 4 World Series this century? 3?
4, yeah.
3, yeah. 4, yeah. That team that, like, bounces the ball and shoots it in a cylinder, they're pretty good, too. They're not bad. Like, Boston fans just don't put up with it, man. And I kind of have an appreciation for it, to be honest with you. Like, on the one hand, it's a little bit spoiled, but on the other hand, it's like this team, this whole city wins, man. And that's just what their expectations are,
Don't give them that. This whole city does not win.
I'm sorry, dude. They do, man. What do you mean?
They had a good. Besides the Celtics, I mean, the Red Sox were losers for a century. The Bruins are usually decent.
They don't win.
The Patriots were god awful before Brady and Belichick. They were terrible. I mean,
yeah, but that was in the 90s, bro.
In the 80s and the 70s and
yeah,
the 60s.
fair.
And they've been awful again lately. I'm not going to say they're just winners. I think they just got entitled because, Brady came around and then they broke the curse and they were like, oh, this is what winning feels like. And now they're getting a taste of just regular life.
Listen, man, I'm a Leafs fan, okay? The Bruins have beat us in the playoffs for the last 15 years. I don't love the Bruins. I'm just saying. I have an appreciation. I'm in a city that is strangely apathetic to their sports teams. Like, we just are numb to everything that ever happens. And at least those guys down in Boston, they still have a pulse, you know what I mean? But I mean, to your point too, man, like, I feel like we've talked about this where a couple of years ago we were expecting a regression and they went on to have the best team in like regular season history. And last year we were expecting even more of a regression, and they were fine. Like, they were fine. They were second in the division. So maybe this is just the regression that we were waiting for. I gotta say two quick things before we move on here in the chat. Number one, good cutoff. I too have a cutoff at Thanksgiving. That's from Gabe. I feel like he's talking about beverages of the adult variety, or maybe food. I don't know. It's very mixed messages. I feel like it's like that sentence is like an abstract painting. It can be whatever you think it is.
Just take it out of context and so many things.
And then sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I see that second one. I just want to state beef's not my favorite flavor. It's just, I got beef with the world and I need to let it out. So I rep the beef.
Oh.
Beef is not my favorite flavor, though. Not even.
That was going to be my second question was, what is he talking about?
Yeah, I guess I must have raised it up, or you got a glimpse.
I'll tell you something. Not an endorser of Subway station food. Like if you're in the Subway. Not like Subway sandwiches. I'm all about a Subway sandwich. But if you're in like the Subway underground and there's restaurants, not typically an endorser. I feel like a Subway restaurant, that's just something is off about it. However, if you're ever in Tokyo waiting for the Subway, get the ramen at those Subway stations, man.
Noted.
They're absolutely legit. Yeah. Write that down. Write that down next time you're in Tokyo.
It's next week. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah. It's a great place. Great place. All right. Let's move on. 7 games in the NHL on Tuesday night. Yeah. I don't think you can put apostrophes in hashtags, but I appreciate the sentiment. I don't think the algorithm will recognize it. I could be wrong. I mean, what am I saying? This guy knows algorithms much better than I do, but I have no idea.
Gabe's a wizard.
Algorithms. Yeah. Shout out Gabe. I've been meaning to reach out to Gabe. I haven't been on with him in a while. But he also hasn't reached out, so maybe it's better for everybody that way. That might be it. But all right, we love Gabe. Moving on. So starting with, and this is just talk about Boston. We could talk for an hour about this other team that's hosting the Tampa Bay Lightnings tomorrow night. Tampa Bay minus 142 on the road. There's a couple of huge road favorites, man. Starting with this one, minus 142 are the Tampa Bay Lightning in Pittsburgh, who are plus 118. Minus 1.5 for Tampa is plus 158. Plus 1.5 for the Pittsburgh Penguins, minus 196. The over is 6.5 at minus 115. And the under is minus 105. What do you got tomorrow night? Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so since the NHL went back to a regular schedule, post that bubble season, whatever, the Canadians won the Western Conference, don't worry about it. These teams, they've met 9 times. 6 of those games went over the total. Another one was a push. One of the ones that finished with 6 goals. So they tend to play high scoring games, right? That's all I need to hear because the Tampa Bay Lightning, they know how to light the lamp. Uh, Scoring is not their issue. They're 7th in goals per game this season. And they're facing the team that allows the most goals per game, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Uh, I know Tampa, they've been pretty solid defensively in net as well, especially lately. They're due, I think, to give up multiple goals again. They held Winnipeg to 1. They held the Devils to none. They shut them out. So, got to expect the Penguins, decent offensively, tend to score at least 2 goals in a game. We'll find a few. But I'm expecting 4, 5, 6, those crooked numbers that the Penguins allow. I'm expecting it from the Lightning again. They just let up 3 to the freaking Sharks, let up 6 to the Blue Jackets. I mean, when does it end? It's a trick question. It never ends. Especially if Tristan Jarry's in net.
Dude,
this game's going over the total. I know you love that guy.
Oh my gosh, dude, I feel bad for him at this point, man.
Yeah, I do wonder if, what was that, 2022, injured in the playoffs, and Dukovic was brilliant in his place. He comes back. It sucks. They lose the series when they're up 3-1. I wonder if that's like just stuck with them. I don't know. Whatever. It's a mental position, goalie. What I do know is that Pittsburgh can't stop anybody. The Lightning know how to score. They're going to score at least 4 goals. I would love that team prop. This game's going to go over the total. I'm all over that as well. I think the Lightning are going to win by multiple goals, but I'm not afraid of that plus 115, 60-minute line. I don't need to get greedy. I'm going to take it.
Oh, dude, I'd get greedy. I'd take them up to minus 1.5, 100%, dude. Like, listen, oh my God, Tyler Toffoli just scored for San Jose. That's what I'm talking about.
Tie game.
Listen, Tristan Jarry, like, I actually have a weird love for Pittsburgh. I don't know what it is. Like, I grew up in the 90s watching the, like, early 90s Penguins when I first started watching hockey. I appreciate the Penguins. I know you have this, like, hate on for them just, due to the team that you cheer for, but I got a lot of love for Pittsburgh. I got nothing against Pittsburgh. I have been to Pittsburgh many, many times. And I've always enjoyed the city. Wonderful food. I kind of like that all their teams have the same colors. There's something cool about that I'm all about. I got nothing, but the facts are the facts, man. This team is awful, and their goaltending is awful, and their defense is awful, and they can't score goals. It's just awful. And if there's anything in Pittsburgh that I don't like, it's their guy, Kyle Dubas, who was formerly my guy, and overpaid all of our superstars. And, so I guess there's something in Pittsburgh that I don't like. But you know what? This is nothing like, I feel bad. Tristan Jarry, he's played in 4 games. 4. He has an 847 save percentage, a 5.36 goals against average in 4 games. Like, that's tough, man. That's hard. And I don't think he'll be playing tomorrow. I'm going to assume that my guy Ned will be in net tomorrow night. I'm going to assume, just because Jarry was in net for the last disaster. But that, dude, and even that game against San Jose, man, they were up 3-0 in that game. Like, that game had no business going to overtime. Now they won. They got the 2 points. Congratulations. But that game had no business going to overtime. Now, Tampa Bay, they haven't been that good this season either. They're not, Pittsburgh level, of not that good, but they've been okay. They've been playing pretty well the last few games. Only the second team, now the third team, but at the time, the second team to beat the Winnipeg Jets, and that game wasn't even competitive. That was Tampa's game the whole night. So, this isn't. I just gotta fade Pittsburgh until I see otherwise, man. That's just the truth of it. So I'm taking the -1.5 at +158, and I'm taking the over 6.5 at -115 all day long. What I will say is my guy Sidney Crosby is still scoring. He's +160 to get a goal tomorrow night, and I believe if he scores tomorrow night, that is 600 career goals. I think he's at 599. I believe.
At this rate, Ovi's going to break the record before he gets to 600. I just can't. It's taking too long. We've moved on.
You gotta let it go, man. You gotta let it go.
No, I don't know. Well, once Crosby retires and we don't play this team every other year in the playoffs, or I think I'm going to be fine with Pittsburgh. I do hate that there are three rivers, two rivers converge and becomes one. Like it becomes one of the rivers. There's no such thing as three rivers at one spot. That's just like common natural law.
That's so funny.
That's my biggest gripe with Pittsburgh. Is to say three rivers doesn't really make sense to me. I think we've talked about this before. Whatever. Permanente Bros is amazing, so they get some brownie points. But.
Yes, phenomenal. And I do love that all of their restaurants have a Roethlisberger. I gotta have an appreciation for that as well. I remember the first time I ever went to Pittsburgh, and the restaurant we went to had the Roethlisberger. And I said to my buddy, I'm like, well, I gotta have the Roethlisberger. And I'm not even joking you, man. It was one of those like old school restaurants with they make the food right there in front of you. There was maybe 8 tables in the place. It wasn't big. And the cook was like, you don't have to have the Roethlisberger. he was every restaurant here has a Roethlisberger. You don't have to have it. I was like, all right. But no, man. And I also had an appreciation. That's not my life anymore, so I don't really appreciate it now. But back then, it was the only bar I've ever been to where you could still smoke darts. I was like, this is impressive. And when you're out of darts, there's vending machine with just a bunch of different cigarettes. You just throw in your change and push the button. Out comes a pack of darts. It was great for the person that I was back then. I was all, it just felt like America, smoking a dart, having a beer. It felt good.
Don't ever think I've seen a vending machine for that in my entire life. But hey, life finds you and you will find life. That's what you needed at the time.
That was 2011, 2012. If they still got bars with cigarette vending machines, then they're just holding strong. 2024, still smoking darts and bars. You're just holding. You're just stubborn at that point. And I'm kind of here for it. I don't really mind it. But what else was I gonna say about Pittsburgh? Oh, we're talking about Pittsburgh way too much, but we're gonna keep. I got one more thing. I have talked about this many times, and I wish that it would happen. I wish that it was true. In fact, a broadcaster here in Toronto was made he was all over Pittsburgh news last year when he recommended that they trade Sidney Crosby, and Pittsburgh sports media caught wind of it and did not like it. Turns out that Vancouver's not the only city that hates Toronto. Unfortunately, for the rest of the NHL, the more I think about it, the more Sidney Crosby is not going anywhere. He signed that contract in September. You're telling me that Sidney Crosby didn't know what was about to happen? This guy's been in the NHL for 20 years. He knew exactly what was about to happen, and he signed the extension, man. Now, what I will say is if he does finally choose to leave, which I don't think he will, his contract is extremely friendly, so I'm sure some team will be able. I had a buddy text me the other day. He's like, let's trade Mitch Marner for Sidney Crosby straight up. I was like, I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but I don't know if that's really the smartest thing. But all right, that's the last thing we'll say about Pittsburgh. Let's get out of this Pittsburgh hole. I don't even know how we got here. All right, the Edmonton Oilers are in Ottawa, continuing their Ontario. Well, I guess they went to Quebec and now they're back in Ontario. They're 0-2 on this Eastern Canada road trip, losing to Toronto on Saturday, and what was a terrific hockey game. Like win or lose, even if like Toronto lost, that was a terrific game. And they lost to Montreal tonight. They're in Ottawa tomorrow. The Ottawa Senators are plus 116. Edmonton Oilers minus 140. Minus 1.5 for Edmonton is plus 164. Plus 1.5 for Ottawa, minus 205. The over is 6.5 at minus 104. And the under is minus 118. Andre, what do you got, man? Edmonton, Ottawa.
Yeah, maybe incorrectly, but I feel like Ottawa has been a better team this year. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong of me, but not based on feelings. I do know that they're 5-2-1 at home. I know they didn't play tonight, whereas Edmonton did. I like the plus odds here. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna bite. I'm gonna take the Senators plus 120. And I'm going to take the under as well. This month, Ottawa's just been consistently playing at low-scoring games. I believe they've only had one game out of 8 so far in November that ended with more than 6 goals. And the majority of their games ended with 5 or fewer. So they're just either side. Whether they win or they lose, there's not a lot of scoring going around. Edmonton, as you've noted before, 2/3 of their games have finished under the total this year. Didn't score tonight, or I guess last night at this point. I'm going to roll with the under here. I like it a lot. I'm going to take the Senators plus 120 or plus 116. You have it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I agree with you. I think, first and foremost, the Edmonton Oilers still haven't found their stride yet. There are games where you watch and you're like, okay, this is the Oilers team. Like even Saturday night, man, like the Leafs ended up winning 4-3 in overtime. The Leafs were up 3-2 in the third period. The Oilers tied it late. Like there's moments where you watch this team and it's like, okay, this is the Oilers that we know. They're back. And then they kind of quickly regress back to what they were at the start of this season and even at the start of last season. And I like the Edmonton Oilers. I think they should be fine, but they're still not playing the hockey that we expect them to. Now, just practically speaking, the two things that really concern me after I've watched the Oilers 2 out of the last 3 nights now. Also, quickly, shout out to Montreal, man. They played a phenomenal game tonight. That's the Montreal that I was expecting throughout the start of the season. But back to the Oilers, the two things that really concern me about this Oilers team as of this very minute. Number one is Evan Bouchard. We all know the Bouch bomb. We all know offensively what this guy can do. Defensively, he is a straight up liability, and he has been all year long. Like there are like a plethora of different plays that his line was scored on where he is visibly not even trying, like just letting it go. That happened Saturday. It happened just a few games prior. This has been a consistent theme with him. And he's on their number one pair. Sometimes number 2, I guess, but he's one of their top defensemen. Like they need him in a big, big way. And they need him even more now that Darnell Nurse is now out for the next 5 to 10 days, which seems like a weird timeline, 5 to 10. You feel like it would be a bit closer together. But due to the Ryan Reeves hit on Saturday, Darnell Nurse is out for the next 5 to 10 days. So not that long, actually. That's pretty good. If he's back within a week and a half, that's actually really good. And we're all happy to see that. But he won't be playing tomorrow. And so Darnell Nurse is not the defenseman that he was. There's a lot of conversation in Edmonton about his $9.5 million and blah, blah, blah. He's certainly not a $9.5 million defenseman anymore, but he plays a bunch of minutes for that team. He's on the ice a lot. And that's still a body that's not there anymore. And now you're bringing somebody else in who has not even close to the amount of experience that Darnell Nurse does. So those two things on the defensive end really concern me about the Oilers. And they're playing an Ottawa team that offensively has always been very good. Like, their problems have been on the back end, right? Their problems have never been scoring. So I'm taking the Senators here as well at plus 116. Did you take the under, you said?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of leaning over. Just because I feel like the Oilers were shut out tonight, and I feel like they're going to come out hard tomorrow night. So I kind of expect them to score, but I'm probably going to stay away from the total and just stick with the Ottawa money line. All right, moving on to Florida in Winnipeg. These two teams just played, and Florida destroyed them over the weekend. That Florida trip, not kind to Winnipeg, losing to Tampa Bay and to Florida by, I believe, a combined score of 9-1, if I remember correctly. I think that's what you said before we started this show. 9-1 combined score on their Florida portion of their road trip. Now lost 2 games in a row for the first time all year. They're back home, and it's even money right now. Winnipeg, Florida, minus 110, both sides. I personally find this a little bit disrespectful. I know that the Panthers just beat them very handedly. I know that Winnipeg's lost 2 games in a row, but this is still a team that's been dominating teams all year long. And I know that, listen, Florida's had a very good start to the year. In my opinion, if you're going to talk about who are the 2 best teams in the NHL right now, this very minute, it would be these two. So I understand the odds being close, but I do think Winnipeg at home should be favorites here in this spot. But nonetheless, Winnipeg Jets minus 110. Florida is the same. Minus 1.5 for the Jets is plus 225. Plus 1.5 for the Panthers is minus 290. The over is 5.5 at minus 134, and the under is plus 110. What do you got? Jets, Panthers.
Yeah, I know how much you love this Jets team, but these are the defending champs. They just smacked them. I think, Florida, we talked about all year, they get up for big games, and they're also playing pretty well for the most part, save for those 2 Devils games. They've been unstoppable as well. The Jets, nothing against them. They were due for course correction. I think this is going to be part of it. Tighter game. It's not going to be 5-0. I think it's also going to be a low scoring game. I would wager on that under. I think the Panthers come out on top again. I think this is one of those let's prove who we are. Let's remind everybody who we are type of deals from the Panthers. So I like that minus 110. I like the under, even though I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I feel biased when I'm talking about the Jets, and I'm not too sure why. Like, I do have connection to Winnipeg. I have friends in Winnipeg. Like my school, my college was in Winnipeg. Shout out to Bev, who somehow passed me. Still not too sure how or why. But I'm I don't know. I just really like this team, and I really believe in this team. And I think what I'm really curious to see tomorrow night is, or I guess Tuesday night, tonight, depending when I guess it is tonight. We're officially past midnight. They've been scoring 6 on everybody all year long. And as I said to you before, even that loss to Toronto, they scored 4 goals in a game that should have been over. It was like 4-0 or 5-1 or whatever the score was. And they came back and they made it a contest. And they just lost bad twice in a row on the road, the second time to this same Florida Panthers team. And I'm just really curious to see how they come out tomorrow night. Like, I'm just really curious to see, for the first time all year, you got punched in the mouth back-to-back nights. I don't know if it was back-to-back, but 2 games in a row. And I'm just curious to see how this Winnipeg team comes out. I'm assuming Connor Hellebuck will be between the pipes. This is a very good team, very good roster, probably one of the deepest rosters in the NHL. So I'm just curious to see what we're going to get from them tomorrow night, and I'm going to take them at -110. I think I'm leaning under here. That 5.5 is a little bit scary at +110. I wish it was 6.5, but I will take the under 5.5, and I will take Winnipeg at -110. As always, when these two teams play, not necessarily play each other, but when these two teams play, I'm taking Sam Reinhart +155. This guy has scored a bunch of goals last year, and he's picking up right where he left off. And Kyle Connor +150, Mark Scheifele +210. Both those guys are putting the puck in the net with regularity. And like I said, they were held to 1 goal over the last 2 games, and I expect them to come out firing on Tuesday night. All right, moving on. I mentioned at the beginning there's quite a few road favorites, and the Tampa Bay-Pittsburgh one, Tampa Bay -142 on the road favorites. This one, Minnesota is -176 on the road in St. Louis. As much as I try to prop up the St. Louis Blues, Vegas is proving you right more and more every time we talk about this team. St. Louis +146 at home. -1.5 for the Wild on the puck line, +148. +1.5 for St. Louis is -184. The over is 5.5 at -118, and the under is -104. What do you got, man? Minnesota, St. Louis, Tuesday night.
You know what I'm gonna say. Wild -1.5. You got it. You take the floor.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. Okay. I agree with you. I don't think we really – I mean, listen, I love St. Louis. They got a lot of injuries right now. They're dinged up right now. I love – the thing is, man, is like they beat Boston over the weekend. I told you that game, like, nobody wanted to win that game. It was not like, oh, St. Louis beat Boston in Boston. How impressive. Like, it really wasn't that impressive. They should have beat Boston. And they did. It took overtime. So I'll take Minnesota -176.
We've seen this game before. Just, by the way, 4-1 Wild in St. Louis earlier this season.
Yeah. As always, again, Kirill Kaprizov +100 to score. He's quickly becoming one of my favorite players, man. I love watching this guy play. Joel Eriksson Ek +280, which I feel like he's going to start like scoring more here. +280 feels like a really good price for Joel Eriksson Ek. Just to kind of show you how tough this season has been so far for St. Louis. Even I know they don't have Rob Thomas right now, and they won't for the foreseeable future. Kirill Kaprizov plus 100, Matt Boldy plus 155. Do you know the next shortest odds? Buchnevich for St. Louis is plus 260. Brandon Saad plus 280. Jordan Kyrou plus 290. The shortest odds for a St. Louis Blue to score a goal is plus 260, man. That just kind of tells you all you need to know. But that being said, I do think they're going to score at least one goal, and Jordan Kyrou at plus 290. I like that. I think that's really, really good odds, plus 290 for Jordan Kyrou. All right, moving on. 3 games left to get to. The Anaheim Ducks, after beating the Dallas Stars 4-2 tonight, they are back in Chicago tomorrow night. Chicago is minus 154 at home. The Anaheim Ducks plus 128 on the road, plus 1.5 for the Ducks is minus 200. Minus 1.5 for the Blackhawks is plus 160. The over is 5.5 at minus 140, and the under is plus 114. What do you got, man? Ducks, Chicago. And may I just say, the Ducks are a fun team to watch right now, man. My brother and I, every year, I've said this before, every year the Ducks come to Toronto once, and my brother and I go, because my brother's a Ducks fan, and we go every time they're in town. And this year we were talking about not going because last year when we saw the Ducks play Toronto, it wasn't even competitive. And I told him the other day, I'm like, dude, I kind of want to see the Ducks, man. They got some good players. They're playing well. Their goaltending is phenomenal. What do you got, man? Ducks, Hawks.
I mean, listen, DK has Anaheim plus 140 right now. And you're not going to find many teams plus 140 against the freaking Chicago Blackhawks. And we talked about this Chicago team at the top of the show. Not scoring goals. They're last in scoring. They have 6 goals in their last 5 games. Honestly, you take regulation of the past 5 games, they scored 1 goal in every single one. They netted the OT winner against Minnesota. It's the only reason they had a multi-goal game in the past 5. They're not scoring. They don't have answers. They just lost Seth Jones. And this Anaheim team, like you just said, they're competitive. They're feisty. They're fun. They've won 3 of 4. They just beat the Dallas Stars in Dallas as plus 350-something underdogs.
Yeah.
Like a really good Stars team. Their lone loss in their last 4 was 3-2 to the Golden Knights, a team playing very well to start this season. They're 14th in goals against average. Anaheim's doing things right. And I think the most important thing is they're keeping pucks out of the net. That's allowing them to compete. This Chicago team is not a threat to score on them. I know they hosted the Blackhawks to begin the month. I know they lost that game 4-2. What Chicago's done since then is literally just non-existent offense. And I don't think they have the answers. I think the Ducks are just playing better right now. I said a lot of words to get to the same point I started with. I think the Ducks at plus money, let alone plus 140, as DK has it, is a steal. I almost said a word I wasn't supposed to, so I'm locking it in, and I'm taking the under.
It's plus 140 on DK?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. I'm right there with you, man. I mean, I've watched quite a bit of the Ducks lately. And listen, the Ducks, they're going to lose more games than they win, more than likely. But the one thing, especially against these teams, like if they're, like quite honestly, just looking at the standings right now, they're at the bottom. They're 2 points up on the Sharks. What's the score of this game going on right now? Sharks, Red Wings, 3-3 in the third period.
3-3.
Yeah. If the Sharks win, then they're tied for last in the Pacific. But that really has nothing to do with what I'm saying. The Ducks goaltending, like if the Ducks play San Jose, if they play Seattle, if they play Chicago, if they play St. Louis, Utah, if they play Columbus, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Montreal, Buffalo. I will take Ottawa overall, or I will take Anaheim over all those teams. And the big thing right now for me with the Ducks is the goaltending. Like John Gibson's back. He's only played 2 games, but man, he's played really well in those 2 games. And I know it's only 2 games. He's had a really hard time staying healthy, so we'll see how long this lasts. If it lasts, I hope it does because he's a really good goaltender. But John Gibson in 2 games, 3 goals against, 908 save percentage, not gaudy numbers by any means, but he's 2-0 with the 3 goals against, right? The Ducks basically right now are, if you can just limit the damage to 3, we'll score enough to win games, and that's what they're doing. And he will be playing tomorrow night as Lucas Dostal was in net, or is in net? No, was in net tonight against Dallas. But just to kind of further my point, I know that Dostal is 5-6-2 record-wise, 2.69 goals against, 924 save percentage. The Ducks have quietly, and once again, I know John Gibson's only played 2 games, but as of right now, they quietly have one of the best tandems in the league. Like, I like what I'm seeing from the Ducks team, man. And you laid out at the beginning of the show why we're not on the Chicago Blackhawks on Tuesday night. But I'm taking the Ducks here as well, plus 128 on FanDuel. And Brady, I don't know tone through text. I don't know if you're joking or not, but I promise you that we are talking about Tuesday. I promise. I've never broken a promise in my entire life, which isn't true at all. Moving on to the New York Islanders in Calgary. And is this bad? Like, I really like Calgary. I've talked about this a lot. Who knows how relevant they'll be in, January, February, March. Who knows? They may be relevant still. I think they have the skill and the goaltending for it. I have watched a lot of Calgary last year. They played late, and I enjoy watching the Flames. But when the Islanders are involved, I just quickly lose interest. I don't know. I don't know if that's really fair to say. Just this Islanders team just bores me, man. And they're in Calgary on Tuesday night. They're minus 111. Calgary is minus 108. Again, I feel like this is disrespectful to Calgary. I am aware that the Islanders, they have been winning lately. That's fair. They lost their last game, but they're 4-4-2 in their last 10. They've been scoring a little bit more. But Calgary should be favored in this game. I watch a lot of the Flames. They're at home. Plain and simple, they should be favored in this game. I usually let you go first, but I'm already going with it, so I'll just finish. I'm taking Calgary minus 108 here. I think they're the more complete team. I just think that they're better at home. And I just got to double check this so I make sure that it is right. They're 6-3 at home on the year. The Islanders are 5-4-1 on the road. Not awful, but I like what I'm seeing from Calgary. They're a team that we expected ups and downs from. And I think more importantly for me, and I know that this might not have anything to do with the game in general, but to me, I know what the Flames are trying to do. Like, I know that the Flames expect to miss the playoffs, but they have good players, and they're going to do what they can to make it to the playoffs. But if they miss it, then they're not off of their, trajectory, right? Same thing with the Flyers last year. The Flyers weren't supposed to make it to the playoffs, but if they did, it was kind of house money, right? The Islanders have no idea what they're doing right now. They don't know. They are aimless. I don't know what they're doing. They're still dealing with a lot of injuries. Is it Mike Riley? He's going to be out for a while now. They're dealing with a lot injury wise there as well. So I'm taking Calgary minus 108. And as far as the total goes, I'm leaning under, but I'll probably stay away from it. What do you got, man? Islanders, Flames.
Yeah, I mean, the Islanders, they've lost 3 of 4, and because 2 of those were in OT, we're like, oh, that's not that bad. And you go, okay, they're 3-3 in their last 6. That's not that bad. They're 4-4 in their last 8. That's not that bad. Preceding that 4-4 stretch, they lost to the Jackets and Ducks. This is, I don't even think that they're a bad team. They're just so uninteresting and uninspiring that it's hard to talk about them or feel any type of positive or negative for them. You just know they're going to be in like a 3-2 game with like 5 minutes left, and there's a good chance it goes to OT. That's the best thing
I
you
know.
can really say about this. They're what the Blues were supposed to be. So with that out of the way, Calgary is 6-3 at home. They just shut out Nashville last time out, which was at home. They've won 3 of their last 4 at home over the Predators, Kings, Devils. The only loss was to the Oilers. I like Calgary in their barn. They seem to just handle business in their barn. They haven't been playing their best since that hot start, but when they're at home, they make it work, especially defensively. So I'm going to trust it. I'm going to take it because this Islanders team,
I'm right there with you, man. And guess what, dude? This is an excellent, excellent segue. And I'm glad that Brady's here for this, by the way. I'll also say, Brady, a true Canadian, apologizing unnecessarily. It's all good, man. We're glad you're here. Glad you're watching. Yeah, we're glad you're here, bro. And I'm sorry about what's about to be said. If the Calgary Flames win tomorrow night, and the Vancouver Canucks lose, which I know my co-host is fully expecting, then the Calgary Flames will, then the Calgary Flames will move to 3rd in the Pacific Division. And that brings us to the last game on our Tuesday night slate, where the New York Rangers are in Vancouver, minus 118, which again, another road favorite, and it was minus 118. They're not, or it's actually minus 115 now. The line's already moved, starting to move in the other direction. It's not crazy favorites. That's not even money, but it's as close as you're gonna get. Not as close as you're gonna get, but you get what I mean. It's pretty close to even money, minus 115, minus 104 now. But I don't know. I know the Rangers are really good, but Vancouver's been a good team this year. I don't know if these odds are necessarily reflective of what we've seen on the ice, but hey, we'll see what happens. Vancouver, minus 104 at home, minus 115 of the Rangers on the road, minus 1.5 for New York is plus 205, plus 1.5 for Vancouver is minus 260. The over, 6.5 plus 100, and the under is minus 122. Andre, the floor is yours, my brother. What do you see? The favorites is comical. I don't know if it's comical. I understand why, but
he just put me on a platter. It's comical.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He teed you up nicely.
I'm not going to talk about my team. Let's talk about the Canucks. 3-4-3 at home, -11 goal differential, 74.1% PK, 85.6% save percentage. You think that's going to hold up against the Rangers? No, I don't think it's going to hold up against the Rangers. I'm sure you don't. I know the Rangers didn't look too great in the Garden this past week, but it's fine because you know what? They're 6-1-0 on the road, plus 21 goal differential. They've only allowed 10 goals in 7 road games this season. Power play is clicking 37.5%. That's 5 out of every 8. Penalty kill, 90.5%. They're saving 95.6% of their shots on the road. This team, they leave Manhattan, they get better. I don't know what it is. Well, I think I do know what it is. We've talked about it off air, but it's fine. The Rangers are going to win this game. The Rangers should be favored. I love the odds on this one. I'm obviously taking it. But I will say, in like head-to-head matchups between these teams, I know they don't play often. The over has hit 5 times in a row. Each of those games had at least 7 goals. The road team in those 5 games won 4 times, the lone exception being the Rangers winning February 8th, 2023 in the Garden. But otherwise, we won our last 2 trips to Vancouver, 4-3, 6-4. They won their last 2 trips to the Gardens, or 2 of their last 3 trips to the Garden. So road teams been winning in this series. They've been high scoring. And what we've seen from the Rangers on the road this year, which is like nearly unstoppable versus what we've seen from the Canucks at home this year, which is very stoppable. Makes sense to take the Rangers.
So this is sort of I love it. We will be back tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow night. Actually, we'll be on during this game, so that'll be interesting.
That'll be on tomorrow night.
Oh, we won't be on tomorrow night. We won't be on tomorrow night, but we'll be back. That's right. We'll be back Wednesday, and we'll talk all about it. I do gotta say this, and this is kind of off topic, but it is on topic as well. So you're talking about the last 5 meetings, the last 4 meetings, or whatever. Now that's acceptable. These 2 teams only play twice a year. That's going back the last 2-3 years. Pretty much the same rosters, a little bit of turnover, pretty much the same. I was watching the Edmonton-Montreal game tonight. As I've mentioned a few times, Amazon Prime is now doing Monday night broadcast for Canada, and they're doing a great job. I'm actually really enjoying it. Sportsnet, poor Sportsnet's getting roasted every Monday night on Twitter. They're just like, get Sportsnet out of here and give Amazon all the games. It's really funny. And listen, Sportsnet, if you're listening, I love to work for you. So I'm not the one tweeting it. It's other people. Oh, also TSN, I love to work for you. So whoever of you come at me first, I love you and I hate the other. Moving on. They brought up a stat that I just thought was so funny, that Edmonton's 18 of the last 21 trips to Montreal, they've gotten at least a point. And I started thinking in my head, they only go to Montreal once a year. You just gave me a stat dating back to the 2000s. What does that matter? What does that mean? That means nothing. That I'm gonna bet on the Oilers tonight because they've got a point since the mid 2000s. I don't know, man. To me, I just found that weird.
Hey, man, I'm sure that there's some champagne being popped in Montreal tonight because they got 2 points.
It's like what if it's like I'm gonna bet on the Oilers because Ryan Smith got 2 points for the Oilers back in 2005. Like, what does that matter? That doesn't matter at all. Curtis Joseph was between the pipes. I don't even know if they were still on the team back then. I think they were. Yeah, they were. But
let Richard Sednick's legacy live, man.
Right. Right. But anyway, going to this game tomorrow night, honestly, man, like Rangers Canucks, I think this is a really, really good game. And I think it's a really close game. And truthfully speaking, like I'm kind of stuck on this one. I'm not really too sure which way to go on it. I think I'm leaning Rangers only because of what you said about the home and away. Like, the fact of the matter is the Rangers have been better on the road, and so have the Canucks. Like, the Canucks are 6-1 when they're not playing in Vancouver, and when they're home, they just really struggle to complete games. That's been the way it's been dating back to the first game of the season against Calgary, right? They were up 4-1 in that game, and they blew it late. And I know that was back in October now, but that's been kind of the theme. So I really do think that if it was reversed, if the Canucks were in New York, then I think I'd be taking Vancouver. But there is something weird going on where the Rangers are dominant on the road and the Canucks are really struggling at home. The other side of this is the Canucks. The Canucks, dude, I love Vancouver, man. I just said, Brady, if Vancouver was in New York, I'd be taking the Canucks. I'm all about it. And how about for East Coast bias? I mean, Andre started the show congratulating me on my Argos. I must have missed that in the chat, Brady. I must have missed your congratulations on the Argos. Oh, no, I didn't. Not here at all. Okay, well, we'll move on. I am interested when it comes to the Canucks, and quite frankly, the Rangers aren't immune from this either. The Rangers have a very good record considering how up and down the Rangers have actually been this year if you watch their games. But I'll say this with the Canucks. JT Miller getting benched for the majority of the third period against Nashville. That's concerning. Brock Besser, I believe, is still out of the lineup. I could be wrong about this, but I believe he's still out of the lineup as well. So I don't know, man. I'm leaning like the Rangers here as well. And it's just the trend, the home and away trend. If this game was in New York, I'd probably be taking Vancouver. But I like what I'm seeing from the Rangers on the road. And I'm not liking what I'm seeing from Vancouver at home. It's really that simple. So I'm taking the Rangers here, minus 118 as well. As far as the total goes, man, I really think this could go either way. Like, I want to say under. Should be a good goaltending battle. But your guy Shesterkin, I've heard some people call him Chesty, which makes me uncomfortable a little bit. I don't know why, but it just does. Chesty, it just sounds weird. But as good as he's been, man, he hasn't been overly reliable this year. I feel like he's had bad games, he's had good games, and they're kind of, you never really know when you're going to get which. So I'm going to stay away from the total, but I'll take Rangers minus 118. The one prop that I really do like, and this one is not one that I would have thrown out at the beginning of the year. Pettersson, Brady, your guy. Pettersson, plus 220. He's been playing some of the best hockey he's played since the middle of March last year. He's playing right now, and he's plus 220 to score tomorrow night, so I'm all over that. JT Miller got benched in the third period against Nashville. Big bounce back spot for him against his former team. He's plus 220. I like that as well. So I'm taking two Vancouver players to score tomorrow night, but I do think the Rangers will win.
What a fair and reasonable take from you. Not at all biased based on any coast, which matters way more than the other one because they're literally ahead.
I'm just saying, I'm from Toronto. We love everybody. We love everybody. Yeah, we're called the melting pot of North America. We accept everybody. We love everybody. Doesn't matter what coast you're from. You're welcome here. You hear that, Brady? If you want to come, you can check out our Grey Cup. I don't even know if they have a Grey Cup trophy anywhere. The Hockey Hall of Fame. Although I shouldn't go down that road because we don't have any Stanley Cups there that are newer than 55 years old. So, all right. Here we go. Best bets on Tuesday night. Brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code SportsAddict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectible store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off dozens and dozens of sports cards. And with our promo code SportsAddict, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but sales items as well. I'd be curious to know, I haven't looked, did the Mike Tyson card lose its value since Friday night? I don't know. But go check it out. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing, whatever it is, I promise you that they have it. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code SportsAddict for 10% off your order. Firstroundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. Andre, what do you got as your best bet for Tuesday night in the NHL?
Yeah, I'm going all the way back to the first game. I've had this in my bet slip since we talked about it, and the odds went down coincidentally when the Sharks scored. So Vegas doesn't, or I guess Vegas knows they were setting a bad line. They're going to lose some money here. Over 3.5 total team goals for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I have it at minus 105 over here. Obviously, the Penguins allow the most goals per game. They allowed, 3 in the third period to the Sharks the other night? I guess it started in the second period, but that was one of their better performances of the season. They're just bleeding goals left and right. This Lightning team, they're 7th in scoring. They've scored 4 goals in consecutive games. They're just doing what they need to do offensively, and this is a great matchup for them. So I'm taking over 3.5 for Tampa. I expect another 4+ goals from them.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I am going to the middle, a little bit past the middle of the show, I suppose. And listen, Anaheim, I hope you enjoy this moment. I don't do this very often, but soak it in. I'm taking the Anaheim Ducks on the money line against the Chicago Blackhawks. That segment, we dug pretty deep on why I think that the Ducks will win this game. One of my number one reasons is their goaltending. Lucas Dostal will not be in the net tomorrow night. He played tonight, but John Gibson, ever since being back in the lineup, he has played very, very well. And Chicago is the least scary offensive team in the league right now. They're not shooting the puck. They're not scoring. It's been really tough sledding for Chicago. So not only can the Ducks score goals, but their goaltending has been terrific. And I expect it to continue against a team that's had a really hard time creating those high danger chances. So I'm taking Anaheim plus 128 on the money line.
Big fan. I love it. Family play. Let's lock it down. We both like the Senators. We were both quick on Minnesota's puck line.
Yep.
I think we both took the under in Winnipeg, no?
We did. Yeah, we did.
Both took the Flames. Both took the Rangers. So there's a lot of options here.
Yeah. I think I'm feeling Calgary.
Hey, you see who they're playing? That works for me.
I think I'm feeling Calgary. Minnesota minus 1.5, I really do like, and obviously the plus 148 odds really juice up that parlay. But the Blues have not been great. They're at home. This is a divisional matchup. Like, would you be stunned if the Wild win this game 2-1, 3-2? We've seen some close games from Minnesota. I mean, they lost to the Blackhawks 2-1 a week ago, right? So I wouldn't be shocked if that game was closer than we predicted. I do like the under in the Jets and the Panthers, but these are two of the highest scoring teams in the league. I know that both these goaltenders are really good. But I think I like Calgary, man, minus 108. And as far as the Rangers and Canucks go as a best bet, taking the Rangers, I just feel like I make fun of Brady a lot, and I don't even know the guy, and I just want to take it easy on him. You know what I mean? Brady in the chat, Mark, not going to lie. I think that's what NGL stands for, right? Not going to lie. That's what it is. I rooted against, I'm young. Rooted against the Argos so hard, but it was a good game, and I was happy for Arbuckle. Congrats. I'm not blaming the ref. Oh, yeah. No, dude, the East Coast bias, that wasn't a thing last night, dude. That game was really close right until the fourth quarter, and just too many mistakes by Winnipeg, dude. Like, the Argos did what they had to do. Like the Argos with a backup quarterback starting against, like, this Bombers team. They needed their defense to score, and they needed their special teams to be good. And both those things happened like all night long. And while the offense was good, it was their defense and their special teams that really got the job done last night. So thank you, Brady. I appreciate that very, very much. So anyway, moving on, Calgary minus 108. I think that's a good final leg in our parlay.
Yes, sir. I think I have you beat today. I'm plus 794. I feel pretty good about it.
Wow. You know what's funny about that? Is I was going to tell you that you didn't have me beat because I don't have the over 3.5 available yet to me for Tampa Bay. So I put the 60-minute line there instead at plus 100. So I thought that would have had you beat, but I forgot you have the Ducks at insanely good value, right? Plus 140, you said?
Yeah, it's still plus 140.
Yeah, I got the Ducks plus 128 and the Flames at minus 108. So I got plus 778 here today. So good job, man. Congratulations.
Much needed dub. What a bounce back from DK.
Yeah, big time. And you, 100%. Man, this is quite the game going on in Detroit right now. DeBrincat just scored, tied up with 2 minutes left in the third.
Yeah.
4-4.
Looks like we're getting free hockey, you know?
Listen, man, this is no disrespect to the Sharks. I know they've been a hard out, and I know they've been playing well lately, but the Red Wings, they got to win these games, man. If Detroit wants to consider themselves a playoff team, man, they cannot lose these games in November. What do we say about you? What's that?
Keep not winning these games, though. That's the problem. They just keep not winning these games.
That's what I'm saying, man. What did we talk about St. Louis last year? They missed the playoffs by what? 4 points, 5 points, and they got swept in their season series by San Jose.
Yeah.
Detroit literally missed the playoffs by 0 points. They were tied in points, and they lost on a tiebreaker. It's these games that come back and haunt you in April, man. You got to win this game.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you're looking at last year's Red Wings too, maybe don't just go on ridiculous losing streaks in the tail.
Yeah, it's good advice. Yeah.
We'll buy, you know. Maybe win a couple games in March.
So to recap, Tampa Bay over 3.5 team total, Anaheim Ducks on the money line, and Calgary Flames on the money line. Everybody, we appreciate you very, very much. We will be back on Wednesday. Stay glued to the Total Apex Twitter account and to my Twitter account. I will let you know exactly what times. We will have more consistent times at the end of the month going into December. But it's November, lots of stuff going on for both of us, and we're making it work the best we can. So we will be back on Wednesday night. Brady and Gabe, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you to everybody who took time out of your evening to spend it with us. We appreciate you. Head over to TotalApexSports.com. Check out all the great sports content that is there. FirstRoundCollectibles.com, promo code SportsAddict, 10% off your order. Have an excellent night. Good luck on your bets, and we will see you